Hello, everybody. Welcome to the J Select podcast. In this podcast episode, I'm going to talk about the fundamentals I should have focused on in relation to my financial well being. I did a sort of similar podcast episode, uh, posted it earlier today about my health, uh, what I was focusing on in the what I was wrongly focusing on in that regard. I encourage you to check it out. It's a previous video I posted today. In this case, I'm going to talk about something, yeah, in a relatable way, in a sort of similar way. I also have been sort of missing the mark on some financial, yeah, my financial goals and actions, and something I want to start talking about, but not before mentioning a couple things. Yeah, first of all, I'm going to talk about finance, but I'm not a finance expert. So uh, take my advice for entertainment purposes only. I hope you find some nuggets out of it, but I'm not a professional or licensed financial advisor. If you do need advice for that, please seek help from a professional, not from me. Do your own due diligence. And yeah, just take my advice for entertainment, and I hope you'll find some nuggets in that entertainment that can help you in your life or some way. But that's my disclaimer. And then it's also my thank you, because I want to thank all of you who recently subscribed. I saw Mr. Leviathan was the most recent one. Who subscribed to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much. It it's always it's so much appreciated. Like you make content, but you always think you're never good enough or something like that. But it's always so yeah, joy bringing, if joyful, if you s- see people that are like what you're doing and want to follow you more. And yeah, it keeps me going, it keeps me motivated. I thank you all very much, guys. Also for all of those of you who recently subscribed and who I don't see on the list. YouTube is not showing me everyone. The ones that are more private. And of course, for all of you long-time subscribers, thank you very much. And if you're seeing this on a different platform or you're hearing it only the audio voice only, of course, thanks, guys, for everybody as well for listening, sharing, following, and appreciate it a lot. And if you're not following yet or subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button, and give the video or audio file a like if you can. And it helps me a lot to push this content out. With that said, welcome to episode 23 of the JSLR podcast. The fundamentals I should have focused on. And like I said, in this regard, in in this case, um, mean my financial goals, and similar to my health goals, uh, I talked about in my previous episode about that I saw like a sort of a foundational pyramid for your health, and that really inspired me to just, yeah, it made me realize, like, hey, what are you doing with these complicated health regimes or practices or supplements, or or basically just looking at the details while you don't even have the big picture yet clear yet, or you're not even having your foundation built up yet. And I was thinking about that a lot, about my health. Talking more about, again, I talk more about it in the other videos, so I will not go to about that in here. But I sort of like expanded that thought into, yeah, sort of my financial practices, and I saw correlations there in a way that it made me think, like, hey, let's do a podcast about it, because yeah, just as with health, if you sort of get influenced or motivated or anywhere else to buy things or have experiences of do things uh, that are sort of, like, how to say it, and maybe the detail level is not the right word, but like that are in a level of the pyramid that you're actually not on yet, then what are you doing? And I'm talking about myself as well. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And it guess it took me a while to realize that, and it suddenly hit me after seeing that pyramid about the health foundation, and I thought like, hey, yeah, you can apply that to your financial situation as well. This one is probably even more of an easy trap to fall into because health is quite specific, but when it comes to your money, there are a lot of details that you can like sort of expand into. Uh, or indulgence. With health, it's maybe health gadgets or supplements, but with finances, yeah, you might also be depending on your interest, of course. Like you might also, yeah, whether it's seeking a vacation or a car or a new television or going out for dinner or whatever it is that, of course, that's different for everybody, but whatever it is, that's something that you don't necessarily need to survive. Like you're skipping a step. Like you should actually look at what you what you should money. Yeah, simply said, the basic foundation of the financial pyramid. There are health foundation pyramids. There's of course also financial pyramids, and a couple of them with little variations. But like, yeah, you can think of the basics. Like, of course, you need to have a roof above your head and food on the table, and not being in debt is very important, of course. I can imagine that being a foundational layer. And yeah, after that, you can start to look at maybe the more luxury stuff or the more detailed stuff or the more advanced stuff. But we are also consumer driven that I think, and I'm definitely guilty of that as well, that just as with the health, we start to skip steps or focus on the wrong ones. Maybe we are on the top, or we actually should be still focusing on the bottom. And I don't know, it's so simple now that I start thinking about it more. But yeah, what are you doing around? Are you doing roaming around at the top while you don't have the bottom in order? And yeah, again, I think on the financial side, it's even harder because with health, if you the bottom is like sleep, and the top is like being very advanced with your supplements and or I don't know, treatments or something like that. But it is not. That's I think that applies to a very specific type of person that is really into that, and it might not be so enjoyable to you know that could actually be a hard thing that that many people not looking forward to, like doing doing ice baths or invasive therapies or something like that. But on the financial detail on the top, of course, there are the really indulgements of life, the luxurious stuff, the the fancy vacations maybe, or the yeah, like I said earlier, the yeah, same trap as with the health pyramid. Like we being exposed to those details because we see a lot of people online or on television or whatever do it. Rich people mostly, right? Like, and that is the thing. Like we see them do it, and we want that as well. But the people of those the lives of those people are so fundamentally different than us on the regular people. Then where than us regular people who are still like sort of should have thinking about the foundation. Like the foundation for them is way down there, and they are there. But for us, we are looking up and trying to reach, and because we want that as well, we're gonna climb, and it looks fancy and it looks sexy and it looks cool and fun, and we want a piece of that. And I think in that pursuit, we're gonna skip steps, and it's very deceptive and or deceptive maybe, and it's very like tricky to. It's very misleading to like in a lot of ways we fool ourselves because we want something, but the foundation is not there yet. And I think that if we would be more, and disciplined is such a difficult word, like sounds harsh, but think if we would focus more on our foundations, uh, not only would we build more stable financial situations, but it would also give a lot of less stress because a foundation is bigger, but it's also more easy in a way. Because it doesn't require you to chase the expensive cars or taking the big risks or that might give you big trouble. Like it lets you appreciate the more simple things in life and perhaps the things that that doesn't cost so much. Yeah, like but with health, yeah, having a good night's sleep that doesn't have to cost you so much, and and skipping a lot of unhealthy foods from your life that might actually help you save some money. You become sort of more minimalistic, and I think like with other sort of financial aspects as well, like if you just instead of stay chasing gadgets, you just make sure that you're out of debt or something, or you that is a part you don't need to worry about anymore. I think about this a lot recently. I think it's very, very important to have that foundation in order. And I failed at that for so long. And just as what I said with my health in the other episode, it is something I want to start focusing on rigorously because the older I get, the more I feel the more important it becomes. Like, that older people always tell you like make sure you have your pension and because it got when you're old it's gonna hit you otherwise, and I start to understand that more. Like if you're really young, you might scoff at that, but the older you get, yeah, it really is true. And yeah, I've always been reasonably good with money, but if I look at my failures, for me, for me, the switch that I want to make in order to build a good foundation, and I think my approach is gonna be that, and I will probably do a separate episode on that because I think it's worthy of another episode. Maybe it's not good to mix it up in this one, but I want to start focusing more on sort of not earning more, but spending less. And I'm not a big fan of the whole governmental system and the monetary system about how it's set up. Yeah, you need money to survive, but on its basics, there's nothing wrong with that. But the way it's being used and manipulated, I think it's a losing game. start to think that's probably not the right way to approach it. I've earned a lot, and I've had moments where I earned it a lot, but at both moments I worked very hard, and I have been working online for like 13 years now with different levels of success, but I feel like I'm always out of time. I'm always like working. Even if I earned a lot of money, then of course I also have to pay more tax, and that sort of puts an extra burden on your mind. So and it I noticed that either you earn a lot of money so that that tax problem doesn't become a thing, but if you're a freelancer like me and it goes up and down and you have periods that you earn more a lot of money, you better start worrying because you know it's going up and down, and if the tax bill hits at the moment that you're on a down period, you're gonna have trouble. And so I started to realize, okay, that is not really the way I want to go about it. And of course, that's different for everybody. Like maybe if you want to sort of like fight your way out of that and become, yeah, go higher and higher with your finances, fine. But for me, I noticed like that it really didn't matter. When I had a lot of money, I worked too much, and when I don't have a lot of money, I work too much. So for me personally, I want to make sort of a switch. For me, if I look at my foundation and I want to make a switch, then it would be more like spending less uh, instead of chasing more. That's a personal thing. Like I prob I can personally understand if for everybody's different, and I still value money. Like I still, of course, I still want to have a lot, but maybe I think like if I just choose to find creative ways to have spent less, then that money that I'm earning is just building up and but not necessarily used. So it becomes sort of an automatic saving thing, and that becomes then a pillar of my foundation. And yeah, that just like as what I talked about with my health, that is something I want to start focusing on more, and that I in my own personal life and also more on the podcast as sort of like another sort of branch of intentional escapism, like escaping the rat race, you know. And I talked about a little bit already about it, and in previous episodes, and you can go different ways with that, of course, like maybe gardening and all that kind of stuff. But I think the trick is like you have to be careful because maybe that's a good practice for everybody. Like draw your own pyramid foundation about what your foundation means for you. Like for example, with help from my foundation, I think like would really be sleep. That's where it starts. Because without sleep, uh, yeah, you're less motivated to eat healthy. You're less motivated to be productive and creative. So for health, that would be my foundation, and for finances, I don't know. I have to be careful because I noticed also with that I can go too much in the details. You know, having a garden, that's all fun and games, but you need to know if that is where you're at in your journey at that moment. And you need to be very, very strict with that, I think, and keep like sort of going back to the basics and think like, hey, is this the right moment for you? Because I noticed, yeah, I started a garden, but then I neglected because my work got so busy. And yeah, what are you actually doing then? So for me, I think at the moment, if I would like document it and think about it, I'm gonna look more at first as a third basis to just pay off debts that I have. I think that's a very important because uh, yeah, it gives you personally a lot of stress. It also sort of makes you feel, yeah, like you failed, or you're you're guilty towards people that you need to give money to or still need to give money to. So and that is something that is, you know, I think that could be a foundation, at least for me, financially speaking, because that is something that is outside of yourself. Like if you don't take care of that, other people are gonna be in trouble, or you. the tax man might come after you or something like that. And that's what you need to avoid. I think that gives it a tremendous amount of peace. Like, okay, the rest comes later, you know, like if I don't have a garden right yet, that's something for me to worry about myself, but that is not somebody else's problem. So I think you need to, in that regard, I want to be careful with saying like you need to solve somebody else's problem because in a way that is always the case with money. You know, if you work for a company, you're basically just being paid to solve somebody else's money or problem. I mean, that is one part of it, but get the most pushy stuff out of the way first. You know, the garden can wait. And be careful. And with every step, always do your checks and balances. You know, like if you see an investment, think about it. Is this really the sort of level on the pyramid you're on that you can do this? Is that a good choice? Or are you still at a level that it's not justified to do it? You know, people talk about investment or investing, but investing doesn't necessarily, and that's sort of a trap as well. The investing doesn't need to necessarily be you going onto the stock market or something like that, or buying crypto coins. An investment could also just be you investing in you, you know, you investing in something that makes you having to pay less in the future. If you have the time and the energy to work on your garden, and then think about, okay, maybe I'm gonna put money into that garden so that I later on uh, so that it later on costs me less to go to the supermarket. And that is an investment as well. And there are many like little things that you can do in that regard. You can try to lower your electricity bills by working with solar lights that you charge at daytime, or use less water. And there are all little things and that you can do or that you can buy, but with the intention in mind, like, okay, it costs me something now, but later on it's gonna cost me less, instead of that mindset of always, okay, I'm gonna like invest in this now and then it's gonna be worth more and more. Be, in the end, yeah, you of course, if you're a steady investor, I guess, like, and you make rational choices in that, it will pay out in the end. But perhaps less, you have less certainty than when you would, yeah, go the other way and just find a way to spend less. And I think for me that is kind of the route I want to go into. And I that is something I'm going to try to talk a little bit more about on the podcast, and I hope you guys find that interesting. And if you do, please let me know in the chat, and or in the comments, or in the wherever you find this video or this audio file. And I'm very interested in your opinions and what you guys think about the yeah, financial pyramid, and what is your foundations and how you approach it, and if you're some person that yeah, really sees investing as something that needs to go up, or you see investing as being able to spend less, or something in between, like a mix or something. And again, both is good. And I make no judgment. Like, everybody has their own structure. And again, I'm also not a financial expert or something. So uh, just some guy trying to figure out life, and this is very important, yeah, big part of life. And I think also a big part of escapism, in a way that we need to, yeah, find a way to escape the rat race, or at least let the rat wheel turn slower, so that we have time for our friends, family, and and being able to be less stressed and have better health and all that important stuff. And yeah, I'm interested to hear from you. Thank you so much, guys. This is episode 23 of the JC Log podcast, the fundamentals I should have focused on. Thank you much for listening. And if you, yeah, found it useful, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, write a review, whatever the platform you're watching this or hearing this is giving you an option to support me. and it is much appreciated. And then I hope to see you in the next episode, fellow Tarians. Thanks so much.